Good morning. I want to start by apologizing for the technical difficulties that we had at the start of the conference. Thank you so much for your patience as we worked out some of those kinks. My name is Reagan Brown. This presentation is being delivered in English and in Spanish. So as we are speaking, the presentation is being interpreted in Spanish through a separate link. So if something seems odd in the way that we're speaking, that is the reason. So to start the conference, Linda Reddish and I will be talking to you about some activities to do with children. First, we would like to show you a video of block play with children. So Linda, do you have any information to add before we show that video? Okay, we'll show that block play video and then we will come back to live Q&A.
Hi, my name's Linda Reddish. I'm an early childhood extension educator with the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Thanks so much for joining us today on this conference for families who are just interested in learning a little bit more about different ways that they can engage and play with their children at home. Our particular section that we're going to talk about is block play. I don't know about you, but I have so many fond memories playing with Lincoln Logs, Legos, different sizes of huge cardboard box when I was in preschool. The other part I remember though is making boxes at home out of cardboard boxes and cereal boxes. And so today we really want to explore a little bit more about what is block play and why is it such a great opportunity to really engage as a play partner with your child and what children learn from blocks. So as I mentioned, why do we pick block play for our particular, section to talk about? Well, this is the great thing about blocks. It's really a catch-all for all of the different learning areas that children learn from, whether it's science, math, reading, developing their motor skills, or, going on a scientific experiment. Blocks really does hit all of these different areas. We know that for the most part, adults really enjoy doing block play with children. It's something that many of us can kind of remember doing when we were younger. And so using blocks as a way to support children's development is a really great activity that's usually available and found both in homes and in school settings. We know blocks are fun and simple. Again, how many of you right now can think of at least 2 or 3 cardboard boxes that you have at home that you could build and make a tower from? Or maybe you got a huge, basket or bucket of Legos that, an older child is no longer interested in playing with. These are really great tools for engaging with your child. We also know, again, like I said earlier, about how block play really helps children's learning. When children are playing side by side, they're having to work together with one another, but they're also thinking about all the different ways in which blocks might be used. So we're going to talk a little bit here about each of those different learning areas that I mentioned just in the last slide, like science, math, social emotional development. So let's start there. Social emotional development is a particular area that children develop, throughout their whole lives. What's helpful to know, right, is that the social piece of this is really about how children learn to interact with others in this world. So like the ability to cooperate and share, but also it's the ability to reflect on their emotions and be able to name their emotions. And how do they then react if they're feeling a particular emotion like frustration when they're playing with others, right? So we're thinking about social emotional development when it comes to blocks. There's a couple of key things that, children learn. So what do I learn as a child when I play with blocks? Well, I learn how to share. For example, look at that number 1 over there. Let's share this red block. Learning how to solve problems if they're working with someone else, like how do you want to stack it or should I stack it? Taking opportunities to cooperate with siblings, saying something like, I noticed your sister wants to place that block on the bottom. Did you hear that idea? So that they're learning that opportunity to do some self-control and really listen to what it is someone else might be saying. And then I hear you saying, you want to make a barn for the animals. So that opportunity to make decisions, giving them choices with what they're doing with the blocks. And I don't know about you, but when I think about cleanup time and self-control, sometimes kids don't want to end, right? They're feeling frustrated or they don't want to be rushed. So using blocks as an opportunity to say, it's really time for us to clean up and put the Legos in the basket. But what color do you want to start with? I think I might start with red. What are you going to pick? There's some other words too that you can, continue to incorporate as you play with blocks, like I need some help, or would you like some help placing that object up on top? Things like start and stop. It's your turn to go first and then I'll go. Or asking questions again to just give more opportunities to make decisions like, I wonder, or how might you, or have you thought about? Now let's move into the area of science. So again, let's zero in on what do I learn when I play with blocks specific to science. Blocks are a great opportunity to compare, tall, short, long, narrow, wide. They also are an excellent tool to do some prediction. So when you're playing with blocks, you might say like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen if you stack them this way. Notice it's not or if you stack them, they're going to fall, right? It's really about giving that child an opportunity to predict what might happen. How many Legos do you think we'd need? Doing some experimentation if they're thinking about making their own tower or wanting to create a structure that's going to hold up maybe some of their toy cars, Well, how many Legos do you think we need? Or how are you going to create that and set that experiment up to see if it's going to hold all that weight? And then really with toddlers, this is a great tool to talk about cause and effect. So if I do X, then next this will happen, right? So, oh, look, that block fell off. It was too heavy. So that opportunity to think about cause and effect and how their actions or the tools that they are using might cause and affect something to happen. Other words you could explore or incorporate into some of the phrases or questions you could ask include like, let's solve this. Maybe we need to move spaces from when we're doing. We know that in science, right, the environment and how you explore and wait for a scientific project to take place are really important. Noticing when things are ready and using words like first, then, and next. We know there are procedures in science. So all of these things help contribute in the future when children are doing their own science experiments or having to apply science skills. Now, no surprise, right? Math. This seems to be a sort of really comfortable area that I know as a parent, I feel pretty good about using with blocks. There are other ways too, though, that you can use mathematics across all age groups, from toddlers through early childhood and into elementary ages. So some of the things that kids learn when they're playing with mathematics is, the straightforward, which is sort of counting. I remember when my child was a toddler, I'd line out 3 blocks and I'd say, let's count 1, 2, 3. But beyond counting, you can also say like, well, how many Legos did you use? Why did you use that many? Or helping draw their attention to the quantities of blocks or Legos they're using. Like, hey, I see you have a group of 3 yellow blocks over there. I have 5 blue ones over here. Which one's bigger? Which one's smaller in terms of the amount? And really even labeling the shapes. If you look at the chart with more words, it can start simply with circle or square, rectangle, triangle, but then move into more complex language like hexagon and octagon, and thinking about helping children understand even like patterns. Wow, you made a pattern. Look at that. You have, a square yellow block and then 2 red rectangles. You're bringing those different areas where they might learn like, quantity, characteristics, and then repeating in the name of the shape and in its color. What is a really kind of cool piece I'd like to talk about in case you're wondering, what are these prepositions and why does it fall under mathematics? So early childhood, and really in that like starting at about 2.5, 3, all the way up to age 8, children are trying to start exploring their particular location within the proximity of an object, right? So you can help them think about that by using words like over, side, below, next. Think about when you're doing an adding or subtraction number, right? It says 2 plus what's the number that comes next? So blocks are a really great opportunity to say like, oh, you're next to the green block. And then I think over there, you wanted to grab the green one so you can place them side by side. These propositions or these prepositions are a really great way to help children understand their positioning in relationship to an object. Real quick, I'm going to go over some pre-reading skills. So these particular questions I have up on the screen are really great prompts to encourage children in using vocabulary or having an opportunity to listen to speakers. So when I talk about expressive and receptive, this expressive part is what a child is talking about, right? Them expressing what it is that they're doing using vocabulary and their words. They often do this through telling stories, their pretend play, you might see it. And receptive is their ability to hear the words that you are saying, understand it, and then know what you mean by it. So if I say something like, what is the difference between this red block and this orange block? Receptive means their ability to understand the word difference and then figure out between the two blocks what's different. And we would hope that their expressive word would be like, oh, the colors, right? But you can see now when we get into this pre-reading skills, how the areas we talked about just a little bit before all really are interwoven with one another. They all have the ability to shape and influence each of these different skills. And then let's just, explore a little bit about this idea of motor development. So typically young children have two types of, motor development. There's their whole body, of course, but then you tend to hear words like fine and gross motor skills. Fine motor skills are really those smaller movements, like using their fingers and hand-eye coordination to help them pick up smaller objects like Legos. We can always tell when children move from Duplos to Legos because they've gotten a little bit stronger in their hand muscles. And so they're a little bit strengthened to be able to do that. And then ways that you can help to facilitate both fine and gross motor skill could be things like building again on this last concept of mathematics, right? But saying things like you place the car under the bridge you made, and that lets them know like their relationship and saying you took this and put it under. And
welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the question and answer or the chat box. You will be able to go to UNL Extension to view this video as well as additional videos and resources. And we will also post the link on the Nebraska PDG website. Linda, was there anything you wanted to add to follow up on that video?
Hi, everyone. I saw a few of the comments saying that the video sort of abruptly stopped when it was in English. And so just as you heard, you will have an opportunity to watch the video back. We'll make sure that both versions of the link directly to the video is in the chat. And so we'll get those posted. There's two links, one that says go.unl.edu/blockplay. And you can see that in the top corner of my screen there. And that will take you to both versions of the video. And then the one below is directly to our Spanish provided link. Sounds good?
Thank you so much. So next I want to give an overview of an excellent resource that you will have access to called Ready Rosie. So in order to gain access to this, you can email Monica Huber, and that email address will be posted in the chat box. And you just need to provide your name and email address and reference Ready Rosie through NESFEC. You can also put your name and email address in the chat. It's easier for you. So all you have to do is once you send that information to Monica, you will receive an email that gives you access to Ready Rosie. So you will be able to create an account, and then we'll have access to different resources such as ebooks, introducing your family to Ready Rosie. There are some playlists for different music and different videos that you can watch. And there's an excellent library of different ways that you can just be with your children, essentially. And they're broken down into different age groups. So if you have an 18 to 36-month-old, you can find some different activities for that. If you have children that are in kindergarten and first grade, you can also find activities for that. So like I said, you will have free access to this resource following this conference. So again, that information will be put into the chat box. All right. And if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat box as well, and we will be monitoring that so that we can answer your questions as we go. So another excellent resource that I want to talk to you about is Unite for Literacy. We have a collection of online books called Nebraska Growing Readers. You can see it here on the screen, a screenshot. And you can find this at the website uniteforliteracy.com/Nebraska/growing readers. And that will also be put in the chat box and will be on the PDG website as well. So once you go to this website, on the top left corner, you will see that it says English. When you click on that, you can switch over to Spanish to view all of the books in this collection in Spanish as well. If you speak a language other than Spanish, you can click on narration, and then you can hear the books in a number of other languages. So they are broken down by different categories such as animals, community, create and play, family and home. There's tons of books, and these are all available to you on your mobile devices as well. So once you click on a book, it will show up, and then you can click through the pages, you can read it out loud yourself, or you can choose to listen to it on your computer or a mobile device. So you will have a couple of different options there. And again, this is a free resource to you as well to read books with your children. And then one last resource that I do want to bring your attention to that will also be on the PDG website. So that website is nebraskapdg.org. All of the resources that we have talked about here in this last 20 minutes or so will be on this website. There will be a list of books called Feelings Books to Read with Young Children. And there is an option for English and one for Spanish, and it lists a number of different books, the author, what age group that it works best for. And also there's a picture of each book so that you have some kind of frame of reference for when you're looking for this book. I know myself personally, if I see a title, that's fantastic, but to be able to have a visual so you know what you're looking for at the library or the bookstore is also a great idea. So a number of books that talk about different feelings like anger, identifying feelings names, having just a lot of big feelings, being grouchy, even stress relief. So we all have big feelings, and for kids, sometimes it's more difficult for them to identify them. So these books are going to be very helpful in helping children identify their feelings, but also talking about them as they get older. All right, so I am now going to open it up for any questions. We have about 5 more minutes. So if anybody has any questions that they would like to add or any comments, we would be happy to share those now.
Actually, Reagan, we do have a question here, and they are asking if it's still okay for a 5-year-old to still play with blocks.
Absolutely. I think block play is great at any age, but I will actually refer that question to Linda since she is the expert on that.
So yeah, great question. Is it okay for a 5-year-old to still play with blocks? I'd love to know a little bit more too about that question, because one of the questions I sometimes get is it okay for a younger child to play with Legos? I'm worried about maybe it being a choking hazard size. And so that's why some of the suggestions too were about finding blocks that might be a little bit bigger, or especially those homemade blocks. So a 5-year-old, what you might think about trying out too is like saving up the cardboard boxes or the cereal boxes and making boxes together. But yes, absolutely. A 5-year-old is definitely great to play with blocks. My 9-year-old still plays with blocks. So I, as an adult, still play with blocks. So
Great question. Thank you.
Yes, and another one is in relationship to Ready Rosie. If they have access through the Educare or some other way, can they still get the free access?
Yes, they can. Thank you. Great question. Yes, you can still get access through this too.
Wonderful. And another just note and comment, I wanted to make sure the link for the books Unite for Literacy is in English and Spanish. All those books that Regan mentioned, you can select the language at the top, and all the books are in English and Spanish, but the audio for those books are in many other languages. So please feel free to go to the link and enjoy and do that.
And you can also share the link for Unite for Literacy as well with other parents that you know. We would like to get this information out to as many parents and children as possible. So feel free to share this with others that you know that may not be joining us for this conference this morning.
And one comment that we wanted to make sure that all of you that register should hopefully have received a mail package, and you will get a package there with 4 books, 2 in English and 2 in Spanish, so you can see how they look, how they feel. And also there's a great card for tips for parents on how to do this activity with your child to encourage the reading in your home.
All right. Just one last check on any questions?
That's all I have.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.